Good morning students, hope all of you are fine. Beta, in this lecture we will continue with chapter 11 of your book, and name of this chapter is Path to Modernization. In previous lecture we discussed about the story of Korea, then how the modernization began in Korea. So today we will continue with the topic of continued economic growth and calls for democratization. As you know, in previous topic we have read that in October 1979 Park Chung-hee he was assassinated, right? Now so in this topic we will just read further. The desire for democratization grew upon the death of Park Chung-hee, but in December 1979, another military coup, this time led by Chun Do-hwan, was staged, and in May 1980, various protests in key cities around the nation were held by students and citizens, demanding democracy in the face of Chun's military faction. As already people were against that military coups, now the people were just demanding and they were desiring about the democratization in Korea. But in 1980, another military coup came into existence. So that was the reason that students and citizens demanding democracy, they were against this military faction. The military faction suppressed the democracy movement by implementing martial law across the country. Martial law, beta, the army law. In the city of Gwangju, in particular, students and citizens did not back down and demanded that martial law be ended. So अभी जो students और citizens थे, they were also not going back and they demanded to end the martial law. This is known as the Gwangju democratization movement. However, Chun's military faction suppressed the protest for democratization. Later that year, Chun became the president through an indirect election under the Yusin constitution. Whether now at that time जो ये this military commander Chun's he suppressed all the protests, those were people were just doing for the democracy, and he became the president through an indirect election under the Yusin constitution. Beta जो ये Yusin constitution, do you remember about that? That it just provide the president the absolute authority or to repeal any law, right? So the Chun administration strengthened the suppression of democratization influences in order to stabilize the regime. अब जो ये चुन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, he just strengthened this suppression of democratization. A reason what was given that he just want to stabilize the regime. Due in part to the international economic boom, the Chun administration was able to raise economic growth from 1.7% in 1980 to 13.2% by 1983, while also significantly lowering inflation. Like हमने क्या पढ़ा था पीछे, during that First World War, during that time there was a high inflation. Economic development had led to the urbanization, improved education levels, and media advancements. As a result, citizens' self-awareness about political rights grew, leading to demands for a constitutional amendment to allow direct election of the president. Now the people, they were demanding the constitutional amendment so that there should be direct election for the president. In May 1987, the Chun administration minimization of inquiries into the death by torture of a university student was made known, making citizens begin participate in a large-scale struggle for democratization. अब बेटा ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम इन May 1987 what happened कि during this Chun administration there was the death of a university student by the torture. So that is why now this made the citizen participating in a large scale struggle. Now people again they started participating in these struggles for the democracy. The June democracy movement that followed had participation not only by students but the middle class as well. So now not only students but the middle class people, they were also uh, participants of this movement. Owing to these efforts, the Chun administration was forced to make a revision to the constitution, allowing direct election. A new chapter of Korean democracy thus began. Now the next topic is the Korean democracy and the IMF crisis. IMF, you know about that. That is the International Monetary Fund. As per the new constitution, the first direct election since 1971 was held in December 1987. But due to the opposition party's failure to unite, a fellow military leader of Chun's military faction, Ro Tae-woo, was elected. Whether now the election, there were the direct election, but जो opposition के लोग थे, they were not united. That is why again a military leader was elected as the president. However, Korea continued along the path of democracy. In 1990, long-time opposition leader Kim Yong-sam compromised with Rose Party to create a large ruling party. In December 1992, Kim, a civilian, was elected the president after decades of military rule. With his election and the consequent dissolution of authoritarian military power, democracy made its forward march. Under the export-driven policy of the new administration, several companies grew to global prominence. Like abhi jo government आई that Kim under Kim and during December 1992, they also followed the export-driven policy. That is why several companies they grew up globally, which continued until the early 1990s. With governmental support, Korean conglomerates invested in capital intensive heavy and chemical industries as well, the electronic industries, while the government continued to focus on building industrial and social infrastructure. It means now Koreans they were emphasizing, they were concentrating on the capital intensive heavy and chemical industry also, the electronic industry also, as well as the infrastructure also. So meanwhile, under increasing neoliberalist pressure to open its market, the Kim administration joined the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 1996 and attempted to strengthen Korea's international competitiveness. But amidst increasing trade deficits, poor management by the financial institution, reckless business operation by conglomerates, and more, Korea was met with the foreign currency crisis also in 1997. The crisis was dealt with through emergency financial support provided by the International Monetary Fund. Simultaneous efforts were also made to improve the country's economic constitution as the citizens actively contributed towards foreign loan repayment through the gold collection movement. It means जो IMF ने loan provide किया था कोरिया को, so now the people they collected gold just to repay that loan. In December 1997, long-time opposition party leader Kim Dae-jung was elected the president for the first time in Korea, marking a peaceful transfer of power. The second peaceful transfer of power came in 2008 when conservative Lee Myung-bak was elected as the president following the progressive Roh administration. In 2012, conservative Park Hae was elected as the first female president. At the beginning of her presidency, she gained support due to the political legacy of her father, Park Chung-hee. But in October 2016, as it came to light that she had let a friend secretly manage government affairs, she met with nationwide protests, leading to her impeachment and removal from office in March 2017. In May 2017, Moon Jae-in was elected the president in a peaceful transfer of power for the third time. The candlelight protest of 2016, led by citizens who peacefully demonstrated for the president's resignation within the boundaries of democratic law and system, show the maturity of the Korean democracy. The Korean democracy owes a debt to economic development, but it was the citizens' elevated political awareness to encourage republicanism in the country which played the lead role in advancing it to where it is today. So beta, this was the topic about the Korea, that how Korea modernized itself and how its people, they were quite mature to handle different type of situations. So hope all of you have understood this topic. Thank you and have a nice day.